Are we live? We're live. What's going on, guys? Sorry I'm late. Just had to do things. So, how's everybody? Who we got on here tonight? So John Wilburn. I don't know if he's here or not. Kathy sent you a link, so if you want to jump in here. See, Random Wolf Guy. That's a new name. Don English. What's happening? Scoob Otto 1303. Joe Case. Central Bears. Smoky Psycho. Smoky Psycho. It's a good name. Thumper, what's happening, brother man? How are you? So what's doing exciting tonight? What's going on? I'm going to sit here and let you guys tell me. I'm smoked. Two Hacks, what's happening, man? Mr. Will, Big Mike, there you are. I tell you, Joe, you like to view a video? That was like totally spontaneous. I had no intention of making a video on that bike at all. And I pushed it off the truck and I started looking it over. Hi, Kat. Hi. I started looking it over. I was like, we were falling out. And Kathy was there. She just whipped out the camera and that was it. We went from there. What's going on, Danny? Let's see. Fubar, we got Fubar. Fubar, I didn't see. Anybody who I missed, I'm using StreamYard tonight, so the spacing on the comments is like bigger than usual. So like I can usually catch a bunch of you guys, but I've only got like a few. Like I don't know. Clint Street Machines. Tony, I just want to say thank you for your advice on that last stream. Been in 2.5 years. You explained why. Bro, okay. So that's as soon as John gets in here, what I'd like to do is I would like to continue John's live because there he is. I'd like to pick up where we left off because I think this is really valuable stuff. People trying to make YouTube work, and I've been fortunate enough that it's worked for us so far. I mean, it could just fall on its face tomorrow, but it's been working for us, and I want to help anybody else who wants to take this journey, Jonathan, thank you for the super chat, brother. Tony, have you ever seen a 4-barrel conversion 360 TBI intake? I just finished porting mine out and we'll post a video. I don't see why you couldn't do it. I don't see why you couldn't do it. What I did see once is I saw a guy on the Magnum, that beer barrel intake manifold, the throttle body mounts on the top. Well, it's almost exactly the same bolt pattern footprint as the Holley, the 500 CFM Holley that they put on like the 360s, 383s, and 400s. And I did see a guy mount a carburetor. I don't know how well it ran, and something I've always thought about trying. Let's go, John. Do you want to jump in here now? Kathy sent you a link. If you want to come in, do it. Shopcat, yeah, it's been about 10 minutes, Shopcat. The speech, I don't want to get too deep into Tony's brain. It's like opening Pandora's box. I've seen things, I've seen things. I have. Can we get a DeSoto appearance tonight? I don't know where DeSoto is. I haven't seen DeSoto around. I know my dogs are all on the other side of the door. They're scratching to get in, but it's too much confusion in the background. So John, I don't know how you go about doing this, right? But like I said, she sent you a link, so and I don't even know how that works. Listen to me, I'm helpless with this. So Kathy runs 100% of the technical end of this thing. Los Cadaver, you just traded 10 loaves of homemade bread for a 63 Honda what? Wait, CT90. Nice. Does it run? Into Kathy stage left. It's a fantastic deal. You need support. You know what I mean? Well, at least I do. A lot of guys can run this stuff all on their own. I can't. You know what I mean? I'll be the first to admit it. I can't. right? If it wasn't for her being able to run all of this shit, I would just go. I would just run a regular shop. You know what I mean? I'd go back to doing what I did before, right? Okay. Oh, there you are. All right. So, John, how do I let you in? Add to stream. Boom. There you are.
Howdy.
What's happening, man? Hang on. I got
long time no see.
Say something, John.
Long time no see.
No, I'm having issues.
Can you guys in the chat hear me?
Jeez. I'm not able to hear you, John.
You're not able to hear me?
No.
Have you got me muted?
I'm looking for a way to turn the volume up on this.
Well, let me look and see.
Having issues.
Looks like everything's in order on my end. Yep. My stuff's working.
Okay, unmute.
Yeah.
Are you on mute?
No, those guys can hear me. Can you not hear me? They can hear both of us. You just can't hear me.
Hang on, let me see something. Say something, John.
Something.
No.
Nothing. No, my stuff's working, okay.
Can they hear you?
They can hear me. They say they can hear both of us.
I can just read your lips.
They can hear both of us.
Do you know sign language?
I know one. No, it's yeah. You need some Uncle Kathy, but I'm gonna hang out with him. She's gonna get your sound fixed. I kind of botched it for you apparently somehow. Tony can't hear me, but y'all can hear both of us. That's the only thing. I want to thank you guys who just came to live. All right, cool.
I got you now.
All right, good deal. Now we're all good.
All right. So where were we? I just saw a super chat. Let me go back to the super chat here. Noah Jennings. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Hey, Tony, I'm new all around here. Love your videos. Thank you. I've got a 77 GMC Sierra Grande, and I was wondering what the reliability build qualities are on those. Any thoughts? Bro, well, I mean, it's a 70s GMC. It's like, how do you go wrong with it? It's like an eternal thing. You can keep that and pass it on to your great grandkids, you know. I can't tell you the exact model, you know, but I can tell you that those years, those trucks, you can't possibly go wrong. All right.
How many do we have on here right now?
I have no idea.
Well, it looks like 179. I keep the other browser so I can see.
All right. Let's see. Yes, it's Sunday night, Bobby.
Right.
Okay. So, John.
Yes, sir.
Bring everybody up to speed on what you were doing on your live right before we came on here.
Yeah, so for those of you who did not see the live we were having, we wanted to have a workshop just for the no-name 500 contenders who are trying to get 500 subscribers to be eligible for the inaugural AHRA No-Name Nationals. Because as a participant, it takes 500 subscribers to be in the show. And there are guys who, let's say they've been turning wrenches for 20 and 30 years, but the whole YouTube thing is kind of new to them. How to produce good videos that people will click on and watch and subscribe and build their subscriber base. So the whole purpose of that live was to help them. So what we have is we had 10 seats on the screen. I had one. I rotated one around with both Tony and Blake from Bad Tree Productions. And then the other 8 I gave away to the first 8 who responded to the email to come join. And from what they told us, a lot of them learned things. We talked about ways to make effective thumbnails, ways to make effective video descriptions, how long to make your videos, you know, what to do or not to do with things like music and special effects and things like that. The whole point was to try to help these guys get their channels off the ground so that they can be bona fide content creators.
Okay, so that was the purpose of your life.
Yes.
All right. What I'd like to do is I'd like to extend that now to just people in general who are trying to build their channels and take questions and try to guide people that way. Because not everybody's trying to get into the no-name nationals, but lots of people are trying to grow a channel.
Right. That was the purpose of that live, but there's a lot more to it than that. So obviously, as your YouTube channel grows, you've got different goals as you go. Those guys' goals are very simply to get 500 subscribers. It's a very basic goal, but as your channel grows, you have more goals, different goals. And so what you're wanting to do, Tony, sounds like expand on that for other channels, like the channel trying to get from 1,000 to 2,000 or 2 to 5 or more views.
People who have no subscribers and are trying to get their first few.
Right.
Anybody who has any questions along those lines, I'd like to extend it to them beyond what you. I mean, obviously we've talked about other things tonight, but if anybody here in the chat wants to ask any questions or contribute any thoughts or anything as far as growing the channels go, feel free, jump in. Because like I always say, a rising tide raises all ships, and we have the best community, the best automotive community in all of YouTube.
So, Tony, I don't know if you saw it, but when I was live a couple nights ago with David Vizard and Andy Wood.
I saw it for a few minutes.
Yeah, we had a meeting before the regularly scheduled No Name Nationals Update Live, and we just mentioned to the chat, hey, we just had a meeting. We're going to be raising some money for St. Jude's at the No Name Nationals. We weren't even planning to talk about it. We just said, hey, we just came from this meeting. The chat, unsolicited, they donated $1,500 on the spot. It was amazing. It was amazing. And Vizard and I and Andy were all just floored at their generosity. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And Kathy sent some too. And you guys are always giving people. You never make a big fuss about what you do. You just either wired that way or you're not. And you guys are wired to be giving and generous, and we appreciate that. But the whole chat together contributed around $1,500, and we haven't even launched the raffle or whatever yet. So that was incredible.
Yeah, that we have. It's the mindset. It's the mindset. Yes. You know what I'm saying? It's the mindset. We don't have very many egomaniacs here. We have people who want to share. You know what I mean? It's and that's important. It's important. We have smaller numbers than a lot of channels, but we have just the best people. You know what I mean? Just
the generosity, the way they support each other. When these folks need something, you'll have 20 rush to say, hey, I can help with that. I have that. I'm in that area. And it's been fantastic.
Yeah, and knowledge too. Everybody's very free to share their knowledge.
If we had some weird question, some obscure question about this region of the world that you or I know nothing about, somebody in those comments would know about it.
Mm-hmm. And that mostly, what I like about it is that they're not really talking about themselves. You've got a lot of people who just want to, I want to tell you about my pickup truck with the blah, 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 blah. And we get that, and that's fine. Everyone, but for the most part, people, there's like a give and take that I don't see in other other communities, Bad Tree is here to help.
Yes, Bad Tree has been extremely helpful. He's been a big supporter of the No Name Nationals. He's a big supporter of content creators in general. I can't tell you how many channels he has helped get off the ground long before this event, just because out of pure generosity. And, I really appreciate him as a friend and as a fellow content creator.
Indiana Slim is saying, YouTuber Roberto Blake is excellent for learning the YouTube game. I've never heard of him, but that...
Yeah.
Los Cadaver, I just brag about my cheap garage sale buys. Make videos about them, man. That's
a wonderful topic.
No, seriously, it's a fantastic topic.
That could be a big channel. Could you imagine doing a 2-minute video on garage sale finds, and he had like a few every? That'd be fantastic.
Let me tell you something. That would be see the channel just called Garage Sale, right? And all you do is just go to garage sales.
You got it.
I mean, seriously, it's like everybody loves garage sales, right?
Yes.
You throw estate sales. Oh God, this is an idea. Why am I? I'm getting rid of everything in the shop tomorrow. I'm gonna start a garage sale channel. Let's see.
We got
Feel free to.
quite a crew in here. By
Is
the
that my
way,
dog or yours?
that's mine. He's in there making racket.
Okay.
By the way, Country Boy Gas Garage here. He just recently got his channel restored. I had mentioned on my channel his channel had been hacked, and for probably a week or so there, it looked like he might not get it back. So I'm glad to see he's got his channel back and running again. That was 20,000 subscribers he worked for that he was in jeopardy of losing to a hacker.
Oof. Mopar Al just popped in here. Al, we were just talking about you on his other chat. You're like the example of success. You
Yes.
jump in there and boom. You know what I mean? Like would you were like monetized in like 3 days. He had his 1,000 subs and his 4,000 hours, like poof, just like that.
Well, Tony and I knew that Mopar Al was awesome, but like most of YouTube didn't get the chance to know that Mopar Al was awesome. So that's cool.
How's the Jeep project? I haven't touched it. Okay. What do we got here?
Mopar Al was on point. Usually he is.
BS Customs is saying about making cookies. Pro tip, put a TV or some other method of watching YouTube in your kitchen and you will get so much more done. I'm currently watching a live stream of making cookies. Chocolate chip? Oh,
Sounds good.
See, now I'm jonesing for chocolate chip cookies. He didn't even say chocolate chip, but I filled in the blank, you know? Let's see.
Now you got Big Mike wanting cookies too down there.
Mopar Al is a real dude, can't fake being a real dude, period. Exactly. He's the perfect, see, Al is, what you see is what you get with Al. And that's why people like him. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's different. Al has a completely different personality than I do. He does a completely different type of video and everything. But he is the real deal. And people identify with that because he's the real deal. You know, you want if you want to be successful on YouTube, that's the most important thing. Be yourself, right? People you know what I'm saying? So many people put on a front. You know what I mean? Just be yourself, right? Warts and all. Just throw yourself out there. People will identify with you and they will love you.
YouTube audience will smell a phony.
Yep. Jonathan Couchy, thank you, brother. My inches, I don't know what your inches, got a 72 D100, 360 flat tops, pre-smoker head, single plane, 500 CFM 2-barrel. It's a manual. Would it have a forged crank, it being a 72? No, all 100%, 360 cranks are cast. Now, with the big blocks, some of the 400 cranks, 72 and 73 for manual transmissions were forged. They used three cranks in those. But no, your 360's definitely got a cast crank. Lunar, thank you for the super chat. Big thanks to Tony for hosting. John Wilbur is spreading the word for the most epic event of 2020. Well, I mean, we're doing what we can. We're doing what we get to get the word out. Let's see.
Yeah, NYS GTO had an enjoyable live. Yeah, you know, that was just completely unplanned. That was supposed to be a live with Dallas and I, and we had a meeting with Andy and Vizard before, and we wanted them to stick around just to talk about, you know, that we're doing something for St. Jude's. And what happened is Dallas was crashed out, just completely. I mean, he'd probably been up 16 hours.
Dallas has the long-term Rona. He's got this Rona hangover, and some people say it lasts for like a year. So Dallas is not himself.
Well, Dallas is working himself to death regardless. And so anyway, he was out of it. And you know, Vizard and Andy and I stayed on. We all had a live and had a great time. I just could not believe what we raised for St. Jude's. But yes, I had a great time too. I won't forget that live anytime soon. Mike Batista has a good question.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the best and most enjoyable lives I ever did was when I was on, I guess it was Andy's channel.
That was my channel.
It was your channel?
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Tony, we're doing the same thing this Friday. I'm going down there for their Dino Days, and Friday night we're going to be live from Vizard's Dungeon again.
Can I come into that?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, sure. We're going to be debriefing the dyno.
Yeah, oh, that's great.
So we're going to be running mixed up boss on the dyno on both Friday, April 1st and Saturday, April 2nd.
Nice.
And,
I get to see what my little 318
yeah,
is
so I
going
don't
to go
know.
up against.
So the footage of the dyno pools will be on Andy's channel, but we're going to be talking about it live on my channel on Friday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. And Tony wants to come in, so we can bring him in for that. That'll be fun.
Bantry, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that.
Hashtag No Name Nationals. Thanks for spreading the word. Well, thank you for being one of the first participants. They are bringing a whole crew, Tony. They're bringing 3 cars and the whole family.
They're such enthusiastic participants in like all of this.
They're awesome. They're awesome people.
Awesome people. If you haven't subscribed to Bantry, go over there and subscribe to Bantry.
Yes.
Yeah, Mopar Al is dealing with the Rona hangover also. He has his own version of it. Dallas has a different version of it. I know when I had it, I had it like a fatigue thing that lasted about 3 weeks, and then I finally shook it. But some guys are still having, like Dallas has got the fatigue thing big time, and Al is having all kinds of breathing issues. Have nothing to do with doing body work inside the shop and breathing in all of the Pondo dust and everything else. Olive, how are you, Olive?
Thumper says he'd bring 2 cars if he had a way to get them there. Well, I'll tell you, we have so many people that are having that problem. They would love to bring more cars if they could get them there. So who knows? We may need to try to work as a community to figure out how that's possible.
The Rona is the 5G. Yeah, there's
The
all kinds of
5G.
weirdness. There's all kinds of weirdness, but I avoid the weirdness, you know?
I don't know what to think about this 5G thing. Everybody has got mixed opinions on it.
Well, I think the God, we're gonna go off into conspiracy.
Yeah,
now, right?
I'll send it into the weird hour.
Yeah, I think. Remember they were spraying the chemtrails?
Yeah.
For like almost 20 years, chemtrails, constantly chemtrails. Then they're gone. No more chemtrails. And then other things came along. Right. So
right.
You know, I'm going to say what those other things are. Okay. And then 5G on top of that. Right. And I think population control is a very real thing.
Bryce DeCastro, Project Frankenstein. I don't believe I've seen him before. Or her. Bryce could be either.
Bigfoot time.
Oh, by the way, Tony, if you have not seen NSB Custom Cars acceptance video,
I have not.
Bigfoot's and Mopar's call out, those guys really setting the bar for a good, funny, short video. It's worth a watch. NSB Custom Cars.
NSB Custom Cars.
Yes. So if you want to see a Lenco Dart and Bigfoot in the same video, that's your video.
Well, I would expect that the two would go hand in hand.
They do, because you got to be a manly man like Bigfoot to drive a Lenco 68 Dart with a big block.
2 hacks. Thank you for the super chat, man. Placing a friendly wager, Mixed Up Boss makes 725 horsepower at 7,200 RPM or more, but not less.
I can tell you this, 2 hacks. I'm going to see the dyno, but I am not giving any numbers because that's going to be Andy's job if he wants to.
I tell you what, I am counting on Andy making at least that, if not more, and that's one of the reasons why I'm going to race him. And that's one of the reasons why I set the terms, right? 1 run off the trailer. Because it'll be a lot easier for me to manage my horsepower off the trailer than it is for him to manage his horsepower off the trailer. So that's the whole point of that, right? It's a street racer bet. So I'm thinking he's going to make at least 725, and I'm actually saying more in the 800, 850 range, right? I believe that's about right. But then he's going to have to take that thing ice cold, roll it off the trailer, put it on a starting line. It's going to be like assaulted by all these street radials and stuff like that. You know, I mean, when I say street radials, I mean like radial tires, like regular street tires. So the starting line is going to be all like, you know, I'm betting on tires, man. I got $4,000 right now saying he's going to spin the tires.
This is a really good super chat question by Country Boy Gas Garage. He has a 48 Ford church bus, a yellow 48 Ford church bus that he drove out of the woods. He's registered for the No Name Nationals and still not sure how he's going to get it there. If any of you guys have anything you can do to help Country Boy Gas Garage
Where
with
is he
logistics
coming
or fuel, please do. We would love to see that bus get there.
Andy's saying, it's not my first rodeo. I know you're very confident, right? be confident.
Hey, so it's a question for you, Tony. You know that truck's got a twin I-beam front suspension, right?
That weird Ford thing, yeah.
Yes, that thing that makes me not want to buy a Ford. What do you think is going to happen when he's putting enough torque to it to pick the front wheels up? I mean, I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, no, that's going to be weirdness. You froze, John.
What's he going to do? It's going to be weird.
I have no idea. I've never seen one of those.
I don't know either. We're going to find out.
I mean, I've seen plenty of Ford pickups on the drag strip, but I've never seen one with a twin I-beam. I have no idea.
We're going to see it, I guess.
Chains hold them up. Okay.
Florida fishing with Rick says that Ford will move the track to the woods.
It's going to wobble like crazy. Rob's Rod Streetcar saying, yeah, but what Andy is saying is right. They just chain everything in place so it can't drop out.
Travel limiter.
But it's also a transfer limiter too.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
You should be rocking on the polar moment of inertia, and then all of a sudden, no more. You know what I mean? That tire going to be.
That truck's 52% on the nose because he's got the engine set back about 4 or 5 inches in it. So its weight distribution is a little better than most pickups. So we'll see.
Tom Hughes saying to Andy, tell these guys the Ford I-beam front was designed for super off-road trucks. They're made for air under the tires. Yeah, but they're also made for no traction. They're off-road trucks.
Yeah.
So when the tires make contact with the ground and they're like this, it's okay because the weight of the truck will gladly push them back out on a loose surface. But now you're on a sticky drag strip, right? And I found out that the hard way, honestly, when I had that bad control arm bushing, where because the track was sticky, instead of the thing just normally, the last time we were in Battle Rock, we had to deal with the control arm bushing. Normally, you got a bad control arm bushing, and especially like with the skinny front tires, the front runners that are on there. Normally, you have a bad control arm bushing, and the car will just track one way or another. But because it's like a glued surface, a sticky surface, the tire goes like this. So I don't know how that would affect a Ford truck on a glued surface.
We have a request here for you to look at Abel D's question. What came first, the nut or the bolt?
Oh, God, the bolt. The bolt, because the bolt would have been a pin. And then in order to fasten the pin, they came to the next step of evolution and created the nut for it.
Right.
Regardless of who wins, Andy built himself one nasty engine. The truck's going to be a beast. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think anyone's taken that truck lightly. Tony's running it. Just Mopar Joe is running it. Nobody's taking that truck for granted.
Big Mike, thanks for the confidence, Mike. Between UTG and Unity, I've got $20 on something breaking.
Well, you're not really going out on a limb, are you, Mike? Mike Batista's right. If Bottle Rocket can make a clean nitrous pass, it'd be hard to beat. Correct.
Okay. I'm going on the car. The basic combination has some shortcomings, and when we go there, it'll be a 318. It'll be a 4-speed. There's no question about it. There are certain shortcomings within the basic combination that will be squared away by that, and it'll almost have no choice but to make a clean nitrous pass, unless something stupid happens. which has happened. I mean, it's like all of the things that have happened with that car. It's like, how the hell do you predict this?
Well, people are forgetting Andy's truck with him in it is 4,080 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, and that engine may weigh a little more, so the actual total combo could be 41 something. I've seen Bottle Rocket on the scales at about 3,030.
Yeah.
So there's 1,000 pounds or more weight difference. That's a big deal. Yeah, Andy says, don't let Bottle Rocket fool you. It's a runner. He is right. We've both driven that car. It moves.
It just hasn't proven itself yet.
It just hasn't done its thing for 660 feet. That car,
right.
It's a runner.
Sean O'Brien, would you ever do a video O2 tuning on a carb car? Me, probably not. But that's like Andy's. That's like perfectly right up Andy's alley.
Andy has a video on that using.
Okay, there you go.
Using air fuel. Yep.
Let's see. BS Customs, would you go back to a stick-on Plan Z for the parasitic savings, or is the automatic consistently trump everything else? Well, here's the thing, right? The biggest mistake I made with Bottle Rocket is that it's a 4-speed. And I can't change that now because that is the definition of the car.
Right.
It's a 318 with a 4-speed. So the biggest mistake I made there was doing it as a 4-speed because now I'm the only person that can really take the car out. I don't have anybody that I could just say, here, go run this freaking car, which was the whole intent when I built that car, when we built that car. I never once intended to even drive it around the block. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the same thing with Sledgehammer. I have no intention of driving that thing down out of the shop. You know, Al's going to push the button and drive it away, and that's that. So now it's the same thing with Plan Z. I switched it to an automatic because now I could just pass it off to somebody else to run. I have absolutely less than zero desire to take any of these cars and do anything with them. I want other people to be able to go out and take them and do things with them while I stay at the shop and make things and tweak things and make videos and play with my dogs. I've got drag racing out of my system. I burned out on that decades ago. I mean, I'm just so done.
You've been there and done that.
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Don't really ever want to go back again.
Dark Chove asks, how'd you come up with the name Bottle Rocket?
How did we come up with? Oh, because it had a bottle, and we were thinking we were trying to come up with a name for the car. It's like, well, it's got a bottle in it, bottle rocket, and then that was it. It just stuck. And Slaghammer, zero named Slaghammer. If you wishes he could drive any of them, come to Tennessee. Take whatever you want. Go drive the wheels off of it.
For you guys who haven't seen the very first Bottle Rocket video way back there, I believe you bought that car for $300 and intercepted it on the way to the crusher, right?
It was on its way to the crusher. I paid over the scale money for it.
Yeah, you paid scrap weight, and before you even picked the car up, you had the AC compressor sold for $75.
I made a profit on the car before I ever picked it up.
Right, exactly.
I started selling stuff off the car before I even brought it home.
Right. There's a lot more to the Bottle Rocket experiment, I think, than most of your newer viewers in the last year realize.
They don't understand. They
don't
know. Right.
It's worth your while to go way back there and look at some of the earlier things with Bottle Rocket. It'll make more sense.
See, okay. So we've got our regular viewers here. I'll explain something, right? The reason that we do project cars, the reason we do builds on the channel, has nothing at all to do with the car itself. It has to do with all of the componentry and all of the things and the concepts and the parts and the systems that give me content. Okay?
Right.
Like, for instance, we're doing Kiwi's motor over there, right? Okay? So I don't want to build another freaking engine. You know, actually, Al's going to take care of that. I've built hundreds and hundreds of these freaking things. But I got a video out of that crankshaft. I got a video out of the teardown. I got a video out of the crankshaft. I'm going to get a video out of the cylinder heads. I got a video out of the camshaft. So that's why we do that. Now, Bottle Rocket, it's the same thing. I can't tell you how many videos we got that were, you know, different suspension videos, different carburetor videos, different blah, 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 blah. The only reason I do these builds isn't to build the car. It's to get the content. And like Sledgehammer is the perfect example. I did the video on painting the block. Okay, painting the block. I made $1,300 painting that block. Think about it. You see what I'm saying?
You made $12.98 because it cost you $2 to paint the block.
Yeah, okay. So, no, but seriously, when it got 100 and something thousand views, I made $1,300 painting a block. Now, if I didn't have that project happening, I would not have had the opportunity to paint the block, make the video, make the money. So that's why I do these projects. It has nothing to do with the actual car itself. I could care less about the car. I care about the things that go into the car that I can make content from, because that's my job. People are like, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Well, because that's not my job. My job is to make content. It's not to impress you. It's not to, it's not an ego thing. I could care less. I have had my trips to the wishing well as far as that goes. I just want to make content.
Mr. Will, in his Dying Breed Garage, asked a good question here. He's asking a question about trolls.
I'm listening. Tony, I have a question regarding trolls. You had an idiot make a dumb comment on the 3D parts video. You went off on him. Why respond to a troll instead of all the nice comments you get? The problem, okay, and you're right about this, and we do get a lot of really good comments. The problem is you get sucked into a lot of conversations that you got to understand something. When you first start on a YouTube channel and you got 30 comments, 50 comments, 80 comments on a video, it's easy to get in there and go for it, right? Once you get to a certain point, I was spending hours every day responding to comments. And then what happens is you respond to a comment, and then an hour later they respond back, and I'm going to go back and get it checked. And you get into these conversations that just literally suck up all your time. And then the other thing is like acknowledging, like if I heart one, I kind of have to heart them all. And I don't agree with everybody, so it's hard for me to heart down. Okay, I read all these comments. I hearted all of them, but I can't necessarily heart one that I don't agree with unless I get in there and explain to people why so it's like you're better off just stay away. And one of the reasons I respond to certain trolls is because not everybody who watches a video has followed along from the very beginning. So this ding dong, Fast Duster, I think his name was, One Fast Duster or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He was insinuating that I was taking advantage of the Junkyard Jet guys and Al because ultimately I own the cars. But that's not the truth. I own Slaghammer, but the Junkyard Jet guys own their car, and these were agreements that were made on videos for the public record, but not everybody saw them. And so that's why I felt it was important to square the record on that particular troll.
By the way, I called Mr. Will today. I've called a few of these guys in regards to things like No Name Nationals business, and I always try to prank them, and it never works because they recognize my voice when I call. And I always use the same thing. I'm always looking for a garage to put a transmission in my Ford Tempo, and they always know who it is. It just never works to prank them.
Mopar Al is saying, I'm finding this out myself as my channel grows. Which thing you're finding out, Al?
NSB, that video was hilarious.
Which video?
The video of their acceptance of Bigfoots and Mopar.
Oh. Would you send me a link to that?
I'll do that. I'll do that. In fact, Fubar, if you're lurking, you can stick it in there. I mean, for them to watch.
No. If you could text it to me, because I'm not going to be able to come back.
Right.
The trolls. Yeah. Love the trolls, man. The trolls are awesome. The trolls let you know that you're doing the right thing.
Unity Motorsports is a work of engineering excellence. Yes, he is.
I am so grateful to have him and David, amongst my friends. You have no idea. I'm honored.
You're great. I'm excited to be visiting the Vizard Performance Dungeon next week. So who knows? We'll probably get a tour of all kinds of things while we're in there.
Okay. I would be a great high school auto shop teacher. YouTube pays better.
Yeah, I think that would be you'd be a pretty amazing high school shop teacher.
Well, so here's the funny thing, right? And sometimes I got a couple of friends of mine who know me from the time we were teenagers. Um, but I actually did teach auto shop high school when I was in high school. So the official teacher, his name was Jake. I don't know if he's still alive or not, because you're talking about 45 years ago or thereabouts. So his name was Marty Jacobs, and he was a great guy, right? And he was like, he could care less. He was just there to get his pay. He was just there. So me and my friends, we would hang out at the auto shop. We'd go there. Nobody went to any classes. We'd go to the auto shop first thing in the morning. We'd burn down a couple of joints, and then we'd go hang around the auto shop all day and fix the teachers' cars and get paid for it, because the teachers would throw us extra cash, which we promptly turned into auto parts and more dope. So Jake would like want to go away and maybe perhaps burn one himself, and he'd say, "Tony, take care of this class." And I would teach the class. I was like 16 years old. I was teaching these high school seniors, all the little trinkets and odds and ends. So yeah, I actually did teach high school when I was in high school.
I literally got drafted to do that when I was in college. We had a class at Virginia Tech, engines and powertrains. And I got a couple of times when I got left to just handle questions and stuff. And with the thing that they taught electricity on ignition systems was a 225 slant 6. And it was out of the car on a run stand, and the students had to figure out how to wire a complete ignition system. And it had points, a points distributor, 12 volts, the wires, everything you needed. And the students had to figure out how to make it run. That was a lot of fun.
We didn't have anything that elaborate. In high school, we had Briggs & Stratton motors bolted to benches, and the whole thing was to go through each phase of the motor. And then your test at the end of the year was to tear it all down and put it back together again and have it run.
And it had to run. That's the important part. Dark Chove has an important question. How long do you think before older cars won't be allowed on public roads anymore?
Never happen. It'll never happen. As things get weird, and they're going to get weird, okay? They're going to get weird. Wealthy people, affluent people, the elite, the powerful, the connected will all be driving older cars, because as things, these supply chain things, and it hasn't even started yet. It hasn't even started. All you're getting right now is just a tease. If you think parts are hard to get now, wait, okay, you ain't seen nothing yet. If you think things are expensive now, you have no clue, right? So as the current system deteriorates, and it's all by design, you're going to see that older survivable vehicles, and it's already the case. It's already the case. Typical like running slant 6 Dodge Darts are going for $10, $12, $14, $15,000 now. Unheard of just 2 years ago. It'll never be a time that older cars won't be allowed on the road anymore.
Tony, I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
I'll be here.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So what do I do here? I just switch this over to 1, right? Okay. Dave Kozlak, thank you for the super chat. My Mopar uncle that I can't help but love. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You guys are really kind, honestly. Let's see. Rob Morris, all new cars come with black box data recorder built in. You will have to retrofit your antiques. No, don't stress it. Don't stress it. I will tell you this. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I've called every step of this for the last 25 years. Okay, and I haven't been wrong. My timing hasn't been exactly right, but I called every single event that has happened and has transpired over the last several years. Called it. So if my track record is correct, none of the systems that are currently in place, all the legal systems and the regulations, the bureaucracy, all of the stuff that you're talking about there, will not exist. And I'm going to go out on another one. I'm going to say within a year, you're going to see all of these bureaucratic monsters flat. They're done. So don't stress it. Don't stress it. Andrew 406. Once you unplug from the system, none of their bullshit matters anymore. Once you unplug from the system, none of their bullshit matters anymore. Once you unplug from the system, none of their bullshit matters anymore. Right? Okay? Why am I keep repeating that? Because you should all repeat that. Because that's the truth. Shopcat Industries. Starting in 2024, all cars will have a remote kill switch that will passively monitor your driving and blood alcohol level content. We will have to keep our oil right so we can get a buzz on. Oh, that's bad, bro. Let's see. Who said that? Hang on a second. Zero. Such an insightful brother. They win by making you feel alone. We are not alone. Bingo. And now you know why I work so hard on creating this community that we've got going. And it's taken off on its own. So I'm now just trying to contribute to this community. But there you go. See, maybe that's my job. Zero. Maybe that's what I'm here to do. Should we all buy a horse? No, but a nice little motorcycle is a good idea. Oh, Mike Batista. You know something, bro? I thought about that. I swear to God, I did think about that. Some poor guy in a third world country watching wreck that fixable bike. It's not really fixable. There's so much wrong with it. It's so jacked from one end to the other. But I need the motor. I need the motor. Okay, John's back. Okay. So, add to stream. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Snizzy Town, can you show how to make the pinion snuggle for the truck rear end? I was only at the shop for a short while today, and when I popped back there, right before we went on John's live there, Al had already started fabricating a cross number for it. So yes, if we don't show it on this channel, right, it'll definitely be shown on Mopar Al's channel. So, but yeah, absolutely. He's got the basic idea there, you know, basically he's mocking it up. So we could brainstorm and say, well, do this, maybe this way, maybe this way. So once it gets a little more evolved, yeah, absolutely, there'll be videos about that. Okay. John, feel free to jump in.
Well, with Mr. Will there, it brings up a good point. Mopar Al's talking about putting a third-gen Hemi in a Valiant, but, Mr. Will's bringing up how cool would it be to see it with the stock white walls and hubcaps and as it came. That's what I'd like to see.
Bruce W, man, I haven't seen you in ages. I've missed the lives for ages. Yeah, well, here you are, bro. Can you give me an update on Bottle Rocket and Plan Z, please? Bottle Rocket is racing Casper at the No-Name Nationals, and there's nothing that you're going to see from that car between now and then, because it's just, you know what I mean? You're just not going to see anything.
$4,000 on the line.
Right. $4,000. So yeah, it's just, you'll see it at the No-Name Nationals. Plan Z is sitting there just waiting to go out. The only reason Plan Z hasn't gone out yet is because I'm busy with other stuff, and I still got to get the truck together. I still got to get the trailer together. I don't even have tie downs. I still got to go get freaking tie downs. I don't know where my tie downs went. So it's like, that's the only reason that car hasn't gone out yet. Probably next weekend, probably next Saturday night, we'll take it out.
Abel D asks, has a good point up there, right below Mr. Will, about Cuba. Abel D says, Cuba hasn't banned vintage cars, and neither will the U.S. as we head there. Vintage cars are the only ones that are rebuildable under all the government BS.
Yep.
Yeah, you can't rebuild any of this new stuff that's OBD2, and it's real thin metal and full of wiring and computers. You can't do anything with that. You can rebuild a car from the early 60s indefinitely.
So See, I'm reminded of things, okay? About 10 years ago, it might have been 10 years ago or so, I have a friend, his name is Brian Loans. He's an NHRA announcer, right? He's friends with somebody who's an NHRA, right? So he does or did a thing called bankshift.com, okay? I don't know if he's still involved in it or not. I've been out of the loop, and I haven't talked to Brian in a couple of years.
Yep.
He's a great, great guy. So I did a story with him, right? This is probably 10 years ago. It was called Post-Apocalyptic Hot Rodding, okay? And actually, it explains a lot of what we do and why we do it on the channel, right? A lot of the philosophies. And I told him at that point, right? This is, again, it's 10 years ago, at least 10 years ago. I says, Brian, it's a bubble right now. Everything is a bubble. Everything is on borrowed time. It's all going to come down. You're talking about hyperinflation, and you're talking about just everything is going to break down. I says, I want to be building hot rods after that happens. So that's why I stick with certain ideas and certain ideologies. And you see what I'm saying? So like, I'm post-apocalyptic hot rodding, man. You know, you want to know how to like keep burning rubber after like everything in the world just like totally, right? Armageddon. I'm going to show you because I've been prepping for it forever.
You know, part of it is the parts you already have, like that van I got. Before I got that van, there's nothing that can break on that van that I don't already have on a shelf somewhere, because I have parts commonality with everything else. Like one starter and one alternator fits a half a dozen vehicles I have.
Right.
That's so
right.
helpful.
Well, it's just like that Buell I bought today, right? So I have my 2002 Sportster, and I have that Buell Blast, okay? And the clutch, all of the transmission parts, brake calipers, all of these things are interchangeable between those bikes. So like I bought that Buell today, it's all fucked up, but there's countless trinkets and odds and ends that interchange with my other bikes. If I need a starter, boom, if the starter will fit my Sportster, my starter will fit my Buell. So there's another piece that I just got sitting on the shelf. I need a bolt, I need this, I need that. I have everything I need.
Just Mopar Joe's in the house. How you doing?
What's going on, Just Mopar Joe? Thank you for the super chat, BW. I'm on an onion skin away from putting a turret on the 55 gas and waiting for Thunderdome.
Nice.
Did you catch the title on the video that we did today? It was like way beyond Thunderdome.
Yes. I want to, you know what? If I had a 55 gasser, I would have a turret on it. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
That was the phrase years ago, right? That was the phrase in New York among the boys, right? You know, the boys. That was the phrase years ago that when somebody was like out there, you would say he's beyond Thunderdome. That's how you knew somebody was. If you referred to somebody as beyond Thunderdome, I meant they're touched. Like stay away from them.
Yeah, that bike was something else. I just, you know what? I think that bike getting run over was only about the 20th worst thing that's happened to it in the last 10 years.
Trust me, I didn't hurt it at all.
Yeah.
I didn't hurt it at all. Yeah, Bruce, I've never seen the movie. I just know the phrase.
I think that bike was built by one of your former employers.
Oh, yeah, Lee. There wasn't enough tape on it. There was no tape.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that fabrication.
Joe Brennan, how's Battle Rocket coming? Joe, I could tell you, but then I would have to kill you right afterwards.
Jason T's asking, anyone know of the 19 series carbs from Edelbrock? So are you talking about like the ones that they're copying of the Hollies, or what carbs are you talking about? I'm very mildly intrigued by their Holly knockoff, but I don't know if the parts are interchangeable. I would imagine they are.
Rebel Angel Killer 62. Tony, you should also post your stuff on Rumble. That way, if you get booted from YouTube, you can carry on from your Rumble account, and Rumble lets you post things YouTube won't. Okay, so here's how I look at it, right? Yeah, Google is Satan. There's no question about it. But I have a good relationship with Satan, and I don't post anything that would get me booted. So YouTube is the best farthest reaching platform. It's been I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity that YouTube has given me. Um, and so I'm going to keep posting here, but we are actually starting to. Kathy, it's one of the reasons why I started doing a little bit of film myself, because Kathy is going to start managing some of these other places and get so we can get content into other forums. But it's not because I'm worried about getting booted. I don't do anything that would get us booted on YouTube. We actually like believe it or not, like we stick to like really the guidelines. Okay, YouTube says don't do this, we don't do it. You know, so and it doesn't hurt us. You know, it doesn't hurt us. I think we get our content across just fine. So I don't worry about that. I don't think we'll ever get booted from YouTube. And another thing too, I do believe YouTube has been flipped. So you guys who follow this sort of thing, okay, and I'll say it this way, right? Any of you guys who are eating the popcorn, okay, you'll know what I mean. If any of you do, any of you guys are eating popcorn right now, I think YouTube's been flipped. So, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
In the end, YouTube is about money, and some people can make content and some people cannot.
Let's see.
Thoughts about 67 Firebird Springs all the way around. Stock or Hotchkiss aftermarkets and ride quality. Fish Sticks was asking that. Yeah. I don't know why I would take a Firebird that worked and change stuff on it.
Yeah, I know less than zero about things like handling, like going around turns. I know nothing. I know nothing.
Michael Phillip, look at this. Mexico City has outlawed all of its VW taxi cab, the air-cooled VW taxis, Beetles.
Okay, now I can understand that because they probably have a legitimate environmental problem. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure they didn't say, oh, well, you can't have these VWs anymore because they're cool or they last or anything like that.
Man.
It's probably because people are choking in buildings where these things are stuck in traffic. So not every move that's made by an environmental company or a government is pure evil. There's some evil in there, you can guarantee that, right? But they probably banned them for a legitimate reason.
I love the Beetle, though. I'm a closet air-cooled Volkswagen guy, so I hate that. Can't they ban something that isn't cool?
Al and I were talking about a concept for his channel that I swear to God, I think we can get Al to like 1 million subs in less than a year. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. I think we can get Al to 1 million subs in less than a year. But we have to fine tune this, right? Al, fine tune it, right? Okay.
Yeah, VW Beetles are cool. Yes, they are.
Oh wait, okay, Chris Freemesser, Mexico City banned the VW taxis because they're two-door cars and passengers were getting robbed if they were to get out of the car. Well, okay, well there you go. I mean, that's a perfectly valid reason. I'm going to go with that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Just Mopar Joe's super chat.
Thank you, Just Mopar Joe.
If all things are equal, compression ratio, heads, cam, stroke, etc., would you build a 383 or 400 for a high revving big block?
The 383, just because this guy is that much lighter of a piston. You know, you're revving, okay? There's a lot of, I mean, even if you're saying all things being equal, so I'm assuming you're using aftermarket pistons. The 400 piston is still going to be significantly heavier than the 383 piston. Plus ring control. The smaller bore has better ring control. The bigger your bore, the sloppier the motor is going to get. So I would build it off for 383. I think it would be overall happier combination.
That is the only thing I don't like better about a 400 is that the pistons are cinder blocks.
Now, if you're talking about like relatively. So you say you threw the caveat of high revving in there, okay? And to me, high revving is anything over 6,000 RPM. So if you're talking about a street motor that's going to be under 6,000 RPM or 6,200, like that, just tickling over that, then I would build the 400. But you specifically said, all else being equal, a high revving big block.
Well, tell him 383 so he'll sell me his 400.
Remember 400s, you couldn't give them away for the longest time.
I love that engine. I think it's great.
Let's see.
JW says the 400 gram weight on the pistons is bad. Yeah, they're heavy pistons. They're heavy slugs in those things.
Yeah. Anytime you got to spin something, piston weight becomes more and more important. And I tell you that's where you start running into problems. Like, okay, a lot of people right away, I got to put rod bolts in this thing because everybody's brainwashed into like, you got to put ARP rod bolts in this thing. Okay, rod bolts in a lower RPM application with like a regular size piston, like a 3 to 3. The bigger the piston, the heavier the piston. Okay, the higher the RPM is where you're stressing things like rod bolts and rods because the inertia to stop that heavy piston at the top of the stroke, the top of the exhaust stroke, and then return it back down. That's when the rod wants to go out around, and that's when the rod bolts want to stretch. So you start running into all kinds of problems once you start with a heavier piston at a higher RPM.
Gary there has a question about AHRA. Well, that's a good question for Dallas on a Wednesday night, but I'll say that the AHRA has 5-member tracks right now, and they are listed on the website. So check that out. There are 5-member tracks. Where's the office? Well, it's operated in Tennessee. Dallas operates the office locally, but there are 5-member tracks. And we will be at one of them in September, Sykeston, Missouri, Jefferson Motorsports Park, and there are 4 others. And they're spread out everywhere.
If you see this number here behind John, it says 186. That's the countdown to the No Name Nationals. There are 186 days to the No Name Nationals.
Yep, you have 186 days to get things together, and the clock and calendar wait for no one.
Okay.
Speaking of the 400, we had Forsaken Steel says with today's pistons, isn't there a lighter option?
Of course, but again, all else being equal.
Right.
A lighter 400 piston and a lighter 383 piston, the 400 piston is still going to weigh more. Mr. Will, okay. Tony John, what year Plymouth Fury is your favorite? I love Furies and may get one before they get out of control price. It's 64 for me.
I like the little bit later C-body, the bigger, wider one, like maybe a 68. Oh, I don't know. I take that back. I think a 65. I'd say a 65 first, 68 second for me.
Let's see. Well, for those who don't know, the 64 Fury is the only year for a B-body Fury.
Right.
65, they went to the C-body platform.
Yeah.
But I also love the trim on those cars. The 64, the grille, right? I think it's just so tight. It matches everything. It works so well. Rob Morris, rod to stroke ratio is more important than piston weight. Yes and no. Rod ratio will dictate the acceleration and deceleration rate of a piston. But again, all else being equal, that was his, right? So a 3 to 3 and a 400 have the same length rod and have the same stroke crank. So his question was all else being equal. That's
Tom Muse is asking, what did the 64 Plymouth Savoy become? I don't know what that means. I like that car.
They dropped so 60 up to 64. They had the Belvedere, the Savoy, the Belvedere, and the satellite with the three trim lines for the B body. And when they did away with the Savoy, I believe it became the Belvedere 1. And then the Belvedere 2 was, so I could be wrong about that.
So Bruce W.'s got a good question here. My friend was talking about bore taper.
Yes.
I said you ran into an issue with bore taper and would rev how much taper. So I think he's talking about what your rings do when you have bore taper.
Bore taper is the difference in diameter from the top of the bore to the bottom of the bore. And one of the mistakes that people make when they hone a block, so you get a block, okay? And if you're not aware of the concept of bore taper, and most like guys who screwed around in their backyards, they're not aware of it, right? It's just something that isn't talked about, and it never entered their minds. So what they'll do is they'll take a block that's got, let's say, 100,000, 200,000 miles on it, and it's got those ring grooves at the top. Those ring grooves are there. Those are actually witness marks from compression or combustion, I should say, because when the combustion event happens, cylinder pressure rises, it gets behind the ring and pushes the ring into the cylinder wall. And that's why you have those marks at the top of the cylinder and not at the bottom of the cylinder, where it equally changes direction. So anyway, what a guy will do is he'll take his motor apart, see those marks, and say, well, I'm just going to hone those marks out. So what they do is they'll concentrate the hone on those marks. And then what will happen is the top of the bore is going to be big and the bottom of the bore is going to be small. So every time the piston goes up and down, the rings are expanding and contracting, and then eventually they'll contract and not have the time. As RPM goes up, they won't have the time to re-expand and follow the cylinder wall, and that's where the power will just fall completely off the map.
Hemi Kuda says if everybody went back to riding horses, people like us would become veterinarians and blacksmiths. Yes.
I'd be a blacksmith.
Yeah, real
Absolutely.
skill sets are going to be around when everything hits the fan. If you have real skills, they'll be needed somehow.
Who rules Bartertown, right?
Yeah, all right. Tom Kilgore's asking what kind of mileage you wound up getting with the 72 Swinger.
On the road, it'll knock down 21, 22 on the road.
Nice.
The problem with that car, where I made a mistake with that car, is its use. Okay, because now it's got a carbureted Edelbrock carburetor on it. Kathy uses this thing mostly for short. It's her daily driver, and she uses it mostly for short trips. So the supermarket is down the street, right? It never warms up. It never comes off the choke. So she'll drive it a mile there, go into the store, come out. The choke never comes off. So she'll make trips all around, like these little short 1, 2, 3 mile trips around town here, and it's always on the choke. So gas mileage is actually not really good. It knocks, I would say it's averaging probably 14 or 15 miles a gallon. But if your car was operated in a steady state environment where you start it up and you drive it, let's say 20, 30 miles, commuting to work or whatever, it would definitely get 21 to 24 miles a gallon in that range with the current setup that's on there. Looking backwards, I should have put the 2-barrel back on it, the BBD, jetted it to the lean side, put a quick choke on it, because it takes longer for the Edelbrock to get going than it does for one of those. But overall, I mean, it worked out okay.
Just Mopar Joe says, Tony, if I can beat Andy at the No Name Nationals and the bottle rocket will still fire off, I'll dance at your wedding.
Let's see what happens. Let's see how it goes. All right. Let's see. Disconnect the darn choke.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could do that, but I mean, then you're gonna be pumping it, install. I'm not worried about it.
I have kind of a phobia about automatic chokes. I've just never had one that did exactly what it was supposed to. I like to be able to turn it off, even though it's more aggravating.
Where that combination is in its glory. It's got a 294 gear, and where it's really perfect is on the highway. 70, 75 miles an hour, 3,000 RPM in that range. It's right there in its element. It takes the least amount of foot, pushing a lot of wind. It takes the least amount of foot, and that thing just motors along. It's perfect. It's just not. It's not well suited to the stop and go daily driving that she does.
Those are really happy cars in general. And when you have a happy engine combination, it's even better.
Mexican spec. I don't have a working choke on any of my cars, but I don't really need one either. Yeah, but you're not. That's besides that's one thing for sure. But
yeah,
I'm not driving the car, so I want to make sure that it starts for her every time she turns the key.
Yeah, Mexican spec. What are your winters like? Bear Rose is asking if you're going to hang out at the No Name Nationals.
I probably not. I'm not much of a hanger-outer. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you.
Lean on the fence. Get a good look going down the track. That's
yeah.
What
well, let's put it this way: if I am hanging out, I will be obscurely buried in the back of the stand someplace. Although, John, if you want me to announce, that's
Yeah, we're going to talk about all kinds of different things coming up. So we got lots of announcements to make on our channel. We'll see.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Thank you for the super chat. Thoughts on Hydro Boost? What would be the best application for a 74 W200 with disc brakes all around and the 35-inch tall tires? What are your thoughts on that, John?
I like Hydro Boost because it works really well. What I don't like is adding any complexity. So if you got a good regular traditional brake booster and it stops the truck good, I wouldn't mess with it. But if you're pulling big heavy trailers and stuff, it's actually kind of nice.
Well, yeah, it is simplifying things because you're taking two separate systems and you're tying them together, right? You're taking the power brakes and your power steering and you're tying them together. You
got the extra plumbing though. I mean, I kind of like it. So a friend of mine used to run a race car, and his tow vehicle had Hydro Boost, but he ran a nasty size cam in his tow vehicle.
Well, that's an important factor.
Yeah, and driving that thing around in town when it wasn't hooked to the trailer, the Hydro Boost was much nicer to have power brakes.
Yeah, well, and that's a heavy truck with disc brakes all the way around. So it's like.
And you have a big engine bay. I say go for it. You got a huge engine bay there, so it won't be getting in the way of anything. Why not?
But I mean, the 35-inch tall tire's got a ton of inertia. You know what I mean? And the disc brake in the rear, it takes a lot of effort to make it work.
It needs it. And it'll allow you to run it'll allow you to run a bigger piston in the master cylinder too, which will help out.
Joe Brennan, thank you for the super chat. What factors will keep new piston rings from seating and or becoming unseated, assuming the bores are freshly honed and the pistons are new? Okay. The first thing is that the hone has to be compatible with the surface of the rings. So a stainless ring and like a moly ring take a very fine bore, a very fine hone finish, where a cast ring wants a violent break-in. So you go with a coarse hone on that. So that's the most important thing, is making sure that the texture of the hone matches what the rings want. Seating and unseating. I would say loading the rings, meaning hitting it hard while they're in that seating stage, right? First 200, 300 miles like that. I would want to hit them hard because a glazed cylinder wall is worse than, you know what I'm saying? You want to keep the cylinder walls from becoming glazed.
Talking about the dude's got an interesting question here. He's kind of looking for help on the recipe for his 57 Ford Custom 300 gasser. He wants to do a 289 and a C4 and wants to run at least 14s. That's very doable.
All right, hang on. I'm trying to get back to that. So
it's a super chat.
I know, but it won't come up on the. It won't come up over here on the
Okay, no problem. I'll just. It's a 57 Ford Custom 300 gasser. It's a gasser build, 289 and a C4, and he wants to build it to run at least 14s.
You shouldn't have much problem
Yeah,
there. No.
unless it's crazy heavy, but yeah, that ought to be able to do running the 14s.
I mean, if you see, the C4 is the automatic is what's going to hurt you with that, right? So you got to remember gases, right? See, this is hard. I've done videos on this actually, and I think we're going to do another one because, you know, I don't know why that came up there, Chuck. But okay, the thing with gases, when they evolved back in the '60s, and you have that whole high front end and the straight axle, all that. The reason they did that was because they used small engines, like your 289, right? That would be a classic gasser deal. So that would be like a C or a D gas combination or thereabouts. And those are the cars that really set up high, right? And they did that because the engines didn't have enough torque for weight transfer. So the gasser thing with the small motor works with a clutch. Those cars would have very heavy flywheels. So that 289 would have the heaviest flywheel that you could find on there, and like a 557 gear in the back, right? And like a top loader. And the whole point of that was to get all that inertia going, sidestep the clutch, because the engine combination didn't have the torque to pull the nose up and transfer back. It was already set into the suspension. So that all you were working with was the inertia of that crazy heavy crank being shot to the rear end. And that's how gassers worked in the day. Now, by using a C4, you're defeating all of these different principles. Yep. You got the right car with the right motor, but not the right transmission. So if you're going to do something like that, God, you need an ultra loose converter. You need a super deep gear. Keep the nose of the car down. Don't go looking for that gasser stance with the automatic. It's no good. You're going to be pushing too much wind. You're going to be too much of a penalty going down the track. So the C4 is the only thing I see where is a problem, a little kink in your deal.
Well, my friend Robert ran a 289. He ran a top loader 4-speed with a 50-pound flywheel.
Yeah, I was going to say like a 60-pound flywheel.
Yeah, you let off the gas, and the engine sounded like it took a week to come back down because all that inertia on the flywheel.
Right.
And then when you leave, you have this massive amount of inertia spun up, and let go of the clutch, and it will just jerk the front end. So drag racing, you can store all that before the light goes green. So.
See, guys who are younger miss the days of like the real gassers. Okay?
Yeah.
And they lasted until that whole nose high attitude was gone by like 1960, 61, not 60, 70, 71, 72. They started getting level. Okay, they built those cars level because tires and suspension had come around by that point. But if you they ran modified eliminator until 1985, I believe it was the 1984 NHRA, 1988 IHRA, and those cars were just. They had little 280 inch motors. They'd rev them to 11 grand. And then it took, like John just said, it took forever for the revs to come down. And
yeah.
Oh, it was awesome, right? There's a video. I was running nitro. I was working on nitro cars at the time. It was just when I got started. And anytime we were at a national event, and I ensured a national event, we were running modified. Man, as soon as I heard the first couple of those go, I'd be like, hang on, I'll be right back. And I'd run to the gate, I'd run to the fence, I'd run to the start line, and watch the gassers run, because there was nothing better than that. They'd be shifting second gear with the wheels in the air at the tree. It was like, bang, bang! Before it even cleared the tree, it was already in second gear.
DD Speed Shops in the house says, the older I get, the more I like stock. How long do I have left, Doc?
There's a lot to be said for stock, man. You'll live longer. There's so much less aggravation.
Skip ahead to get current here.
Okay.
Mike Batista says 14s is easy. I'm sure it is for Mike Batista. No problem. Yeah, Mountains Garage says modified. Yeah, right. Those classes were magic.
Oh, well, okay. Oh, no, wait. Sorry. Wrong one. Just more Joe. Check out Bill Smith. His 55 shoebox has a small block Chevy, 18 spline, 833, data 60. He's 75 years old. He's been running cars since 1970. He leaves over $8,000. Yeah.
There's a handful of those old guys out there still running their cars. The winningest, the round winningest IHRA car in existence, I believe, is good old Charlie Brown. And Mike is still running that thing. He actually lives not far from here, so I see that car a few times a year. 57 Chevy, and it's been campaigned for 60 years. Same car. It's a small block with 4-speed, and it's violent. It's cool.
Thumper is saying, Dan doesn't have the thrust bug. He has the cruise bug. And that's true. You'll live longer, man. You'll live longer.
Talking about the dude says, would a C4 work with a different stance?
You would be okay. So here's the thing, right? When you put the car up in the air like that, it's only to give you that starting line again. See what people do today and what was actually done, like they're emulating. Okay, but what I'm trying to say is the reason they were up in the air like that was because they were a stick, and they, you see what I'm saying? There was a whole set of dynamics at work that caused those cars to evolve in that direction.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is they'll get you off the starting line, and they get you to the tree, get you a little past the tree. But then from that point forward, what you're doing is you're fighting a wall of wind. Then you got a small motor with a big car with a lot of frontal area. And now you're going to let like the whole earth get up underneath it at 50, 60, 80, 90 miles an hour. How fast are you going to go? Okay. And it's just going to kill the car, the rest of the car's run. So if you're going to do an automatic, super loose converter, you know, like just get a converter that's going to like freewheel to like 3,500, 4,000 RPM, and get the nose down, and the car will work a lot better for you than something way the hell up in the air.
A couple of good questions here. JW says, with a 28-inch tire, what gear can you live with? I'm assuming we're just going to make some assumptions. It's a 1-to-1 high gear, and how much gear would you want to have?
With
on
what?
The highway, I'm guessing. I mean, there's a lot left out of that question, but
can you highlight that?
I cannot highlight that, but it's okay. JW's question there. He just says and all it says is with a 28-inch tire, what can you live with? I'm assuming that means on the highway.
Bro, what's your threshold for pain?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, when I was a kid, I used to drive around everywhere with open head. I mean, literally. I mean, I didn't own them. I didn't know what a Buffalo even looked like till I was in my 20s. Okay? My own cars, everything had open headers, and everything had 430 gears, welded spider gears, 430 gears or 456 gears. And this is what I drove every day, right? In New York City, in traffic. So it's like, what's your threshold of pain? You know what I'm saying? When I was a teenager, my threshold for pain was like way off the map.
My 89 Hyundai Excel turned 4,050 RPMs at 70 in high gear. And you get used to it, but I'll tell you, it's kind of nerve-wracking until you do. NSB Custom says he's got a 500-inch tall deck motor. How much timing can we run before we get in the danger zone? He's running 112 octane, 11.5 to 1.
I got to find that question.
NSB Custom Cars.
NSB Custom Cars.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
no,
he's going North Carolina to work.
That. But the question is, 500-inch RB engine, how much timing do you think they can get before they hit the danger zone? 112 octane, 11.5 to 1 compression.
Are you always running that fuel?
It's a drag car. It's a Lenco Dart.
Here's the thing with timing. I mean, and this is where like modern technology. When I say modern technology, like a retard system is going to work well for you. You got to remember something, that the amount of fuel there's a finite amount of fuel that you're putting into the combustion chamber. Okay, and that finite amount of fuel is going to have an effective burn duration for X amount of degrees of crankshaft rotation. The more you advance it, the fewer degrees of crankshaft rotation that fuel charge has to push down on the crankshaft. So what you'll do is you'll create an extremely violent hit at the top of the stroke, but you're taking degrees away further down the stroke. So depends what you're after. I mean, ideally you would want to I know guys who've run at 42, 43 degrees, and but then they'll have a retard in there and they'll gradually bring it back to 30 degrees or 28 degrees. You just get to a point of diminishing returns with too much advance. I can't give you an exact number, but that's the philosophy behind it.
Joe Case says a 410 gear with a T56 6-speed is very highway friendly. Well, yeah, a T56 with 323 gears, you're practically idling on the interstate in 6th gear.
Mr. Will, thank you again for the super chat. He keeps throwing super chat. Man, you don't have to do that. I appreciate you so much. You don't have to keep doing it. I changed the differential oil on my 442. Now, when turning from a stop, the inside tire chirps a bit. Will adding limited slip additive cure it?
Is it a limited slip differential?
So, he changed the diff oil on his 442. Now, when turning, so it was okay before you changed the diff oil. Yes. Okay. So that limited slip, they call it posi fluid, limited slip differential fluid. You get it in any auto parts store, or at least you used to be able to. It's fish oil. It's actually essentially the same as WD-40. It's like a concentrated form of WD-40. And so if your original diff fluid had that in there, it's creating just enough slip to keep things moving. So now you change the gear loop and you don't have that in there. It's a friction modifier is what it is. So what's happening now is everything's binding a little bit. So yeah, throw some of that limited slip gear. That's why they have it, right?
If it bothers you, it wouldn't bother me.
It does wear on the internals.
Yeah.
So it's chirping now, but yeah,
it's rough on stuff.
It's rough on stuff. The problem isn't when you're making a hard turn, right? You're making a left turn or a right turn, you turn in a corner and it goes, that's not the problem. The problem is as you're going down the road, let's say you're going down just a mildly winding road, those differential, the gears are always moving like that. Even just a tiny amount. And that's why the friction modifiers are so important in something like that. Mike Batista does not care if the clutches chatter. Okay, where were we?
Unlimited slip.
Wheelie King. Oh. It's funny how many people don't know WD-40 is derived from fish. It's the truth. I know. Or that it's really edible. It's like, you could if you really wanted to, there's no harm ever done from that. And it works on arthritis. A lot of old timers, I don't know if they still do it or not. I have arthritis. I have arthritis bad, but I don't really use the WD. The old timers back in the 60s and the 70s would always have a can of WD-40 on their nightstand because their joints would stop bothering them and they would spray the WD-40 on them and rub it into their. My grandmother actually, she's been dead for a bunch of years now, but she used to keep WD-40 on her nightstand.
Just Mopar Joe says it shows what I don't know about GMs. Well, your name is Just Mopar Joe. No one expected you to know about GMs.
NSP Custom Cars. Thanks, Tony. That's the best answer we've got so far. We are being conservative. For now, at max 36, we will turn up the wick at the No Name Nationals. And what bore is it? Because remember, timing is bore sensitive also. Okay?
Well, that's a 440. Or no, it's 500. So that's a bigger than a 400 bore.
No, not necessarily. It could be a stock bore 400 with a stroke crank kind of thing.
Yeah.
But time the optimal effective amount of timing. There's many factors, but the baseline of it has to do with how much real estate the spark has to cover, right? You follow me? Because the bigger the more land from one end of the piston to the other, the more that flame front has got to travel before it can create the pressure to start pushing the piston down. So, but 36 is usually that's about the typical number for 400, 440.
You guys must have like a 4 1/4 stroke crank or something crazy. Stock bore 440.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's 4.32.
Yeah, 34, 36 degrees is probably about right.
Yeah.
Is it a closed or an open chamber head?
He said it was 11.5 to 1.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything as far as the
Well, the quench, yeah.
yeah, quench mode you can get away with less. You know, it'll tolerate more, but you can actually get away with less. Bruce W. Is there any way to get an open rear end car to get good traction? Air shock at one side and clamp up the front of the rear springs. I'm going to bore you guys with history. Okay, I'm going to bore you with history. Up until 1972, right, top fuel dragsters all ran open rear ends. Okay? None of them had any type of locker or posi or spool or anything like that. They all ran open, completely open rears. They would shim the spider gears to create a little bit of resistance, but that's it. That's all it was. And if you watch, you'll see a lot of videos or pictures of those cars where one slick is like giant high. It's all like blown out from centrifugal force, and the other slick is just sitting there low. The reason they were able to do that is because the motor and the rear end were so close to each other that the upward left motion or the upward left torque reaction from the engine would counteract the upward rear tendency of the right rear. And so those two forces would cancel each other out and create an even loading of the tires. And so that's why those cars, they did that because it's easier to make a correction with an open rear. So what happened was if the wheels are locked, you get, let's say, I don't know, half track, okay, and the thing starts skating around. It's easier to control the car to bring it back into line with the wheels separated from each other than if they're completely locked. So, and that was one of the things that led to wheelbases getting very long at that point, because they started to lock up, they started using lockers, and they had to extend the wheelbase to make the car that much more stable. But anyway, so the question was, is there anything you can do to eat? So that's exactly it. What you want to try to do is you got to preload the right rear. And you can make a car you can make a regular car with a completely open diff. You lay dead straight, posi marks. I hate to use that frame, but dead straight, even stripes. If you've got the preload on the right rear correct. So what you have to do, and it's something you got to play with. Nobody gets it right off the bat. It takes time, right? And stock eliminator guys used to do that too, because again, see, it takes less horsepower to turn an open rear than it does to turn a locked rear. So they would do what they could to get away with the open rears. So yeah, preloading is all that. You got to make sure that when you put the beans to it, the right rear has enough preload to it to put even marks down, and she'll go.
If you watch the video from Jake's Dragway where Bottle Rocket was leaving the line, there's some footage from behind. You can clearly see that we were messing with the air shock pressures side to side to get the car to leave evenly. Steve Mariner,
good luck with that.
Steve Mariner asked a good question. 76 Jeep J10.
By the way, and this is something I only noticed a couple of days ago. Do you remember how that car was very violent on the hit, right? Mm-hmm. It just jerked like that.
Oh yeah.
It broke a clamp on the leaf spring.
Wow.
So the driver's side leaf had no clamp in the front section, so that segment was doing a bump.
Yeah.
And that's why the car left like that.
76 Jeep J10 360. P code pistons, whatever that is, but it's 12 thousandths below the deck with 40 thousandths gaskets netting about 8.8 to 1. What will 20 thousandths? Okay, so if he cuts his head gasket down from 40 thousandths to 20 thousandths, what will that do to his compression? It's 8.8 to 1 right now. So if he puts a thinner head gasket on it, will it matter for a daily driver? He's at 8.8 to 1. He wants to go from a 40 thousandth to a 20 thousandth head gasket.
It's not going to hurt. I mean,
yeah.
A quarter point. I mean, a lot of that has to do with the bore diameter.
Yeah. If it
No,
gets it to a true 9-to-1 versus 8.8, that's not really going to affect. It won't hurt, but it won't change what gas he has to run. I wouldn't think.
here's the thing about compression. Okay, compression has diminishing returns. So the difference between a gasoline engine with 5-to-1 compression and 6-to-1 compression, right, and normally aspirated, not turbocharged or anything like that, is probably double the output of that cylinder, right? Or maybe that's exaggerating. Maybe that's pushing it, okay? But it's probably 35-40%. You go from 6-to-1 to 7-to-1, and it's like a 25% improvement in that cylinder, okay? You go now once you get up into the 9-to-1 range, let's say the difference between 9-to-1 and 10-to-1 compression, on average, it's only about a 4% horsepower gain for that full point. And the higher you go, the less effect compression actually has. So once you get over that, let's say 12-to-1 range, and now you get into like pro stock territory, 16-to-1 and all of that, those guys are looking for a horsepower, 2 horsepower. And it's all under the most extremely tightly regular, conditions. You will never see the difference between 8-to-1 and 9-to-1. You may see the difference between 8-to-1 and 9-to-1. You'll never see the difference between 9 and 10, right? It's just not there. It's a 4% difference in overall horsepower, and you can make up the difference just by kicking the timing just a hair. I mean,
Michael Phillips says, I doubt that anyone in this group cares about the Academy Awards. Is there something going on with them? I don't even know. Is that a thing?
I think Mopar Al needs to be nominated for Academy Award. I mean, did you see his performance on the? Oh, it's the Grammys.
He needs a Grammy for that.
He needs a Grammy and an Academy Award.
Let me tell you, anybody with so much talent that they can transition seamlessly from Mary Had a Little Lamb to Inagata Davida is incredible. And by the way, Dust Devil Garage said he just was welding on the knuckle duster. Brian, 186. Get to it. Yeah, I don't think there's much crossover audience between these viewers and Academy Awards.
No.
That's probably pretty safe.
Inagata Davida. That was my request.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I knew that. 318 will run. The less compression, the more total timing.
Yes. But then you run into the issue where you're using up a good portion of your charge before top dead center. And it's even aggravated more when you've got a long rod motor and you long rod ratio motor, and you're increasing the dwell time at top dead center. So you start to use up some pretty valuable degrees after top dead center, with your charge. The amount of the volume is actually in the chamber. So it's a dance you got to make just to find that right balance.
Joe K says the crankshaft is the new percussion instrument. Joe K, you should take a nice forged crank with no cracks in it and see if you can play, an open mic night or something. Film it. Let us know how it goes. Abel D wants to know about the picture behind me. So this picture of 2 monster trucks, it's funny. So I used to do mortgage inspections for banks. And I went in this house that was completely cleaned out except for that picture. And the reason the picture was still there, it was on the wall, but it was in a stairwell. And the stairwell was about 1.5 stories high. I said, well, I got to have that because I recognize the picture. That looks like it was taken in the Roanoke Civic Center about 1990. It's Gravedigger 2 and the Equalizer, about 1990. So I got in touch with the family who used to have the house, and the guy who lived there died and was foreclosed upon. And they said, sure, we have no use for the picture. So I took a ladder over there, took the picture down, and I said, I don't know, it's kind of cool. It's framed with glass. It's an original photo of a flat tire, something weird. So anyway, then when I did this studio, I said, I need a picture for there. So I just put it up. So that's it. That's the entire story on that picture.
Okay, ready for this one? Okay. Back in 1988, I worked for Harris Publication. I left CSK and I went over to Harris, right? And Harris Publications, this was in Manhattan. If you ever see, all you guys have seen the triangle-shaped building in Manhattan. Okay, that's the Flatiron building. That was right directly across the street from my office on Broadway when I worked for CSK for Harris. So Harris was like this magazine assembly line place. It was a couple of floors of this office building in Manhattan, and it was all production for different magazines. He did mostly puzzle books, but he liked to do these other things too. So I became the automotive group editor. But in order to get our magazines through production, right, and keep the system moving, right, we would have to do favors for other people. So it was like this big magazine collective. So I had to do a monster truck book. I did a couple of monster truck books. And then I realized I can't do monster truck books. I can't. My head isn't there, right? I just wasn't into it enough. So I passed a monster truck book off to somebody else to do for me under my name. In the meantime, as a favor to him, I put the first issue of New Woman magazine out. Then, right, I know this is going to sound crazy, I put the first issue of Guitar World out. And there was one of that I did New Woman. I did like 2 issues of New Woman. I did the first issue of Guitar World. And what was the other one? It'll come to me. But both of those magazines went. I had nothing to do with them going. I just assembled the package. But monster trucks. I did monster truck books.
The Dust Devil's asking, do they run on nitro? No, most monster trucks for the last 40 years have run on methanol and it's supercharged. Is Harlan Sharp Roller Rockers brand name a quality name? Well, you just got to sit with that 440. What do you think about them?
Well, they're not mine. They're
right.
They belong to Kiwi.
Right. I've just never had a set. They look good, but I've never worked with any.
I mean, by reputation, they're the best.
Yeah, they are good. I mean, everybody I know said I've just never personally used any.
Gesso makes great stuff, right? But
yes,
but I would say as far as just specific rocker arms, I would say Harlan Sharp. You're looking at the top of the line. Do you think they'll send me some? No, did I say these things about that?
I've got a set of Comp Cam's roller rockers that are steel, and they're sitting on the shelf. I've heard a lot of good things about them. I've just never run them. I've never really had many things that had roller rockers, so I don't know anything about Harlan Sharp firsthand. 318 Wheel Run has 75,000 miles on his Harlan Sharps. There you go. That's a real testament.
Danny Boyd, how do I make the bridge pickup on my Strat sound like the bridge pickup on a Telecaster? I have no clue. I know nothing about guitars. All I did was put the magazine out.
Well, there's people that know nothing about cars that put out magazines about cars, so I guess
it shows. And it shows.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. There are people who have channels about cars on YouTube that know nothing about cars too.
And that shows. Some I've actually seen tonight.
Oh, what is this? Hello from New Jersey. My son's graduating from Virginia Tech. Well, congratulations. I'm 8 miles from Virginia Tech. And he's moving to Cookeville, Tennessee.
Good move. Bear Rose, Mitten Made Muscle, old school Harlan and crane rockers. I have cranes on my Roadrunner, the 68 Roadrunner. And I've had those. I mean, just they get passed from engine to engine to engine. Yeah, they're like bulletproof. They're kind of heavy. You know what I mean? But they're bulletproof.
It's Barrow's Garage. By the way, Tony, Barrow's Garage, he used to operate a monster truck called Thumper. It was a ride truck.
Really?
Yes. He needs to do a video on it. But he has a scar on his belly from the Felon, a monster truck called the Felon. He jumped inside to check it for spark at the starting line and burned his belly on the zoomies. That's a nice souvenir, right?
Yeah, you got a story to tell.
That's it. That's it. If you don't have any scars from working on cars over the years, you're not trying hard enough.
I should look like, honestly, I should look like Freddy Krueger. You think I'm joking, right? I have burned off. I have had first, second, third degree burns every top to bottom. I've ripped everything off. I've shredded everything. But I have that Guinea skin, that Italian skin, that greasy shit that just keeps growing back right. You know what I mean?
If you
It's
guys
only when
see
I do a
Tony
lot
up,
of under muscle damage is the only time I ever get scars.
if you see Tony up close, you can see little evidences of things like exploding grinder wheels and stuff. He,
I'm not very pretty when you get up close.
hook, line, and catfishing. My hands look like all scars. Well, if that's what you're doing, I can see that. Wheelie King's been burnt. Yeah, a lot of us got stuff like that. I got a few souvenirs. I got one for being backed into by a U-Haul truck, and I got a scar from a quarter panel of junkyard. It's about 6 inches long on my shin, where I got cut by a rusty quarter panel. And then I have a horseshoe-shaped scar on one of my knees where I tripped over a neon engine block, and I got the dowel pin that holds the head into my knee. So I got a few car scars, and they are what they are. They're stories.
Yeah, you know what? It all makes you stronger. Seriously, it all makes you stronger.
It makes you wear your safety glasses.
Well, I mean that. If your body is always forced to heal itself, the biggest mistake people make when they get injured is that they I have to take a couple of days off because I've hurt my whatever it is, right? And it's like, no, don't do that, right? Force yourself to go and get back on, whatever it is. I don't care if you broke your fucking leg, right? Get out there with crutches and keep moving forward. Keep doing your thing, right? Obviously, if you have no control over a part of your body, it's a different story. But, the typical wound, right? You gash yourself, you burn yourself, you do whatever. Just keep moving, right? And what happens is your body's repair system says, oh, shit, I'm needed for a very important task. I better fix this right now. And your immune system is like any other system in your body, man. The more often you use it, the more effective it is.
You know what?
You repair your immune system as well as your repair system.
That scar on my leg is it's probably 6-8 inches of scar. And I duct taped that thing, and I finished getting my parts at the yard, right? And then the scar on my knee, I did the same thing. I duct taped it up with some gauze, and I was at Bristol Dragway the next day, and I walked all the way to the scales and back with one leg that wouldn't bend. I don't let it slow me down. I just go forth, and it heals how it heals, and it gets done.
You heal fast.
Yeah, you just get it. If you don't have time to be hurt, it helps.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's the same thing like I said with the immune system. Your body, your body's systems, they're dumb. They only know how to do their job. They don't know what to do the job for. So all they know is that, I'm needed. I better get to work. You see what I'm saying? They don't know it's just because you want to go fuck with your car or whatever it happens to be. They think you're saving the village. You got to take the baby away from the alligator, right? That's what your immune system is saying, right? So push yourself. You push yourself. You go. I'm 60. I run circles around guys. I mean all the time. I see guys that are 20, 30 years old, even younger, and it's like I move faster. You know what I mean? I have more strength. Why? Because I'm an idiot, and I keep pushing myself harder and harder and harder.
Yeah, the people who push hard are always able to. Somebody was asking you if you had a fuel-injected vehicle. Your Jeep.
Yes, my XJ is fuel-injected. Now remember, I was big in fuel-injected vehicles in the 80s. I was when everybody else was in carburetors, I was in fuel injection. Now everybody's in fuel injection. I'm in carburetors.
I've been enjoying driving that van some days with the carburetor again. It's nice. I got to remember to pump the gas before I start it. It's a good thing.
Danny Boyd, what motivates your arthritis monster? Bro, Danny, it takes me, I wake up in the morning, it takes me 10 minutes before I can stand up straight. And I'm all hunched over and I limp. You can watch me in videos. I'm always limping and move because I can't move fluidly because I've broken everything and I have arthritis. I got it in my knees, I got it in my hips, I got it in my right ankle. You know what I mean? My fingers, they lock up. What do you do, man? You got to say, well, fuck it and push. I can't stand up straight. Get that arm, and you just do it, and you just keep doing it until you die, and that's it.
Danny Boyd says on his 56th birthday, he walked 7 miles and rode a bike 5. Well, Danny Boyd is a Ford man. So, man, was all of your stuff broken down that day that you had to do that on your 56th birthday?
Okay. So you have that's called rheumatoid arthritis. Actually, Al has that too. It's common, man. It's common. I don't have all my arthritis. My arthritis isn't hereditary or my immune system. It's all from injuries. It does moaning and crying. Okay, yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Well, Ryan says it's all uphill after 50. Well, you're a few years after 50. I'm a few years before. Gee, thanks. Hey, there's Ajax 750 CFM. Good to see you. Ajax, one of our viewers is looking to have an 8 1/4 rear end swapped into a car in the Washington, D.C. area. Are there any of you viewers who are willing to swap in an 8 1/4 in a Duster in the Washington, D.C. metro area? I know somebody who would like to have that done. Anyone who lives there. It's a simple swap. They have the rear. They just need it put in.
Ari says he claims rheumatism when tests on undesirable work.
Abel D says using WD-40 helps your skin healing. You know what's funny? I I've gotten stitches several times. Like this hand has probably had stitches in it 3 or 4 times alone. I had a doctor tell me, he said that he theorizes that mechanics that have greasy hands all the time, seems like we fight infection a lot better when we have to get stitches. And I've never had an infection problem with any. I've had so many sets of stitches here and there and there. And
I don't get infections. I don't get.
I mean, like I'm talking. Like my hand will be black, like I'm wearing a glove, and have a cut you can see the bone through. And he'll just rub a little iodine, sew it up, and send me out. And it just never is a thing.
That's the truth. I can cut any part of myself wide open, and you can shit in that thing, and it'll heal perfectly. There won't I don't.
Tony has the immune system of an alligator.
I do. So Wheelie King. So exactly. Keep going. 5 doctors have told me to quit riding dirt bikes. Seriously, if I quit, I'll probably shrivel up and die. Dude, the Buell that I bought today. So I want to build a Sportster dirt bike, right? But then after really thinking about it, I'm like, man, the Sportster motor is just too heavy. It's just bulk. And I says, no, I'm going to do it with a Sportster frame. I'm going to do it with a blast motor. And so that's what I'm doing. That's why I picked up that Buell today. That motor, I'm going to pull it apart, go through the whole thing, and that's going into that iron head frame that I had, and I'm going to build me a dirt bike. So I'm with you 1,000%, bro. I'm with you 1,000%. Ride till you freaking die, or you'll die if you stop riding.
Andy Wood here, Unity Motorsports Garage, says, Ford guy here, Mopar at heart. You know what's going to finally right the ship for Andy to get away from this Ford stuff is we're going to be working on a 340 for my Dart Sport. And I have a feeling that that's going to he will not be able to resist coming back from the dark side after that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you're on the right track. Will be also probably, the thing is, we probably won't be showing a bunch of it on the channel because the motorcycle stuff is really, it hurts the algorithm, bro. It hurts the algorithm. We put any type of motorcycle content out, and then it's like, boof, and we'll pick up momentum, throw out a bike thing, boof. So today's will probably be the exception to that rule because it's just outrageous. But if I put out just regular straight bike content, it kills the numbers. So I probably won't be seeing much of it.
Michael Phillip there says Evel Knievel drove a Harley. Yes, he did. The impressive part is that he jumped that Harley with no suspension travel. That was the impressive part.
But he wasn't trail riding like with a bunch of kids on RM125s. You know what I'm saying? He used to go whoop, boom, right? So it's a whole different thing.
I mean, his son had, radical suspension travel on his bike. Not to take anything away from either one of them, but to do the jumps he did on that Harley was really amazing.
Well, his kid only used dirt bikes.
Yeah, right.
The kid only used dirt bikes. The guy, Bubba, what the hell was his name? Was the only other person I know of that was success. Bubba something or other. I can't think of his last name. It'll come to me. But he ran around with the Harleys also. But actually, Knievel did a bunch of jumps using Triumphs because they were significantly lighter.
Yes.
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Caesar's Palace was on a Triumph. That's the one where he breaks everything, he's flipping through the air like this, and a bike lands on him.
Billy Bob Holcomb, he said Evel Knievel died young. Evel Knievel was still like in his mid 60s or something, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, he had the berserk of a 300-year-old. So, it's amazing he lived as long as he did. No, not Bubba Zanetti. It was Bubba something. Bubba something.
Evel Knievel lived to be 69. I just looked it up.
Evil Stones was his suspension.
Yeah.
He was the crumple zone. What's this stuff? Like you just said, John, not to take anything away from them, but the stuff guys are doing today make that stuff look extremely lame. It's apples and oranges, man.
Yeah.
Take a street bike with street suspension and try to land it after you jumped over 20 buses or whatever it is that they're jumping over. That only is a huge balls, but I mean, like, amazing amount of. Where you do it with a dirt bike. I mean, I'm not inclined to jump over things, but I think I might try it. I definitely wouldn't try it on a street bike. Ray Brinsky, Evil was nuts. He just didn't know it. He knew it. You couldn't.
He knew it, and he capitalized on it.
Yeah.
He did not let it go to waste.
Bubba Blackwell. That was it. Bubba Blackwell. He jumped on street bikes also.
Yeah, Caesar's Palace was 1967, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was, let's see.
I've seen those fountains. Can't imagine that jump. The Dark Chove asked if you put holes in your box van too.
No.
Now, weren't you talking about making an airfoil to go on top of the cab to cut down some of that wind drag on it?
I still have to do that because I'm going to use that to tell. I'm not going to use the wrecker anymore to tell. I'm going to use the box truck.
Yeah.
So I have to do something with that the way the air comes over, because that was not intended for highway travel. That's like an inner city, you know what I mean, bouncing from borough to borough, not like hauling a few hundred miles over interstate. So I got to work on that.
Doug Norden talking about evil. Yeah. Okay. So he earned it.
Let's see. Who was the tightrope family? The Flying Melendez, right?
Yes. Flying Melendez.
Oh, Thumper says he puked in the Caesar's Palace fountains.
Nice. That's a nice claim to fame. Hey, you should ask them if they have you on any of the security cameras. That'd be a nice piece of footage to have. You can use it for the opening on your videos.
All right.
Mopar Joe's got Terra 400 down. We'll have fun doing that.
Oh, just Mopar Joe. Oh, you know something, bro? I watched most of you. I didn't watch the whole thing. I had my granddaughters were over yesterday, so I was playing with them. But I watched a good portion of your video. When you get that pan off of that thing, I guarantee you're going to find bearing damage. I guarantee you're going to find bearing damage. That fresh oil pump on there, like that screams. You know what I mean? Because everything else is like, but that fresh oil, because the oil pressure takes a shit. The first thing people say is, "Oh, put an oil pump on it."
Yeah.
And it's never the oil pump. You know what I mean? It's never the oil pump. Tear the pan off of that thing. I'm dying to see what's in it. Number
Dust
6.
Devil.
You're going to see the number 6 rod is going to be down to nothing. The number 6 rod bearing is going to be down to nothing.
Copper bound, huh?
Yeah.
Dust Devil says we need more entertainers like Evil Knievel and Jungle Jim, people who actually cared about the show and the crowd. Why do you think that we're doing the no-name nationals around YouTube content creators? Think about that. You're exactly right.
Just one point, Joe. I'll shoot you a mention. Yeah, but don't do it if I'm wrong. If you take the fan down, like, don't play out. Uncle Tony said the crank would be flatced. No, just like.
Hey, you want to know a secret? I'll tell a secret on here. If Joe needs a trash like number 6, I know exactly where there's one on his property. We were doing some investigation and found looking some bearings. Yeah, he's got some down to the copper real close. He can put his hands on. What do you think about Abel D's question?
I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
Do you guys think saving some fuel during this time is a good idea? If so, how much would you save? I'm looking to get some jerry cans. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I'll tell you what. I keep my car topped off when I get in. I keep the Jeep topped off when I take Kathy's car. I top that off. I topped off the box truck today because you know what I mean. You just don't know. We're heading into some extremely insane times, and I think you're gonna see it all come to a head. Start to come to a head. June-ish, or thereabouts.
Tony keeps about 300 gallons stored. He just keeps it in about 17 different gas tanks. Right?
It's spread around.
Yeah.
I keep my motorcycles topped off, the Harleys topped off, the Super Cubs topped off. So yeah, I would definitely. Yeah. This would. I don't want to get it. I don't want to like throw a damn blanket on shit, right? But I'm saying this like really sincerely, really seriously. Okay. We're in uncharted territory right now, okay? And we've had little tastes of weird, but you ain't seen nothing yet. I'm telling you. Anything you need, start stocking it, right? Start stocking. If let's say you weld, right? Start getting all of your equipment, right? Start anything expendable, right? Wire, rods, whatever it is. Spend it. Just go. Food. Get some food, put it on side. Anything you need to sustain you for any amount of time, get it right now. Don't fuck around. It's things are going to get very, very interesting very, very soon.
If somebody reminds me on one of our social type lives sometimes, I can help you guys learn how to store rice and beans and staples for really cheap. Anyway, Jerry Rigney says you should see me at the end of the month loading up a trailer with gas cans and heading to Kroger. Man, I gain that 35 gallons a month like you wouldn't believe to get that $1 off. I get about $300 or $400 in gasoline free every year doing that.
Paul Shea saying it's scary times. No, it's not scary times. This is a time for opportunity. This is opportunity, right? If you're scared, you just change that frame of mind, man, because like this is the time that great things can happen, right? So yeah, you look at it the other way. Look at it the other way.
There's opportunity in all kinds of different times and all kinds of different markets. The question is, are you prepared to take advantage of it?
Well, if I remember correctly, the Chinese symbol for crisis and opportunity is the same.
Barrows. It's like 1922 all over again. Yeah, we're going to have some bumpy times, sure.
Well, we're way past 1922. We're really 1929.
Right.
And I wouldn't even make comparisons to that. I would say closer comparisons would be like between like 500 and 600 AD. Yeah, there's nothing that's happened in recent history, recent human Earth history, that this particular phase that we're going through can be compared to. It's more like quantum, yeah, no, it's way deeper than that, bro.
Tim Turk said we played a stupid game and now we're winning a stupid prize. Yes,
One way to
sir.
look at it.
That is true. Nick Stevens has a good question here. Do you set backlash on an 8 3/4?
Yeah, set backlash on everything. It's an essential part of setting up a set of gears.
It's miserable to check consistently, but yes.
Backlash is the oil space. If you don't have enough, if the backlash is too tight, you can't get the oil in between the gears. So they start running hot. So that's the whole purpose of backlash.
Getting caught up in trying to measure that with the dial indicator, because I found it's really hard to get a consistent, repeatable reading. I kind of go more by feel. Does it feel right when I clunk it to know if I got enough oil space?
That's how I've always done it. That's how I've always done it.
I set the pinion depth exactly because that's a repeatable, easy measurement, and then do the backlash. I'll still put a dial indicator on it, but I go by does it feel right, and that's really more important to me.
What I have found is that as far as pinions go, manufacturers, all of the ones I come across, are so dead nuts accurate as far as, because you take do an 8 3/4 and you take the original pinion out and you match it up to the other pinion, to the replacement pinion, and you make your measurements from the flat surface, from the bearing or the shims are going to ride on, to all they're freaking exact. And I have found that if you pull 8 3/4 apart, 8 1/4 is the same way, 7 1/4. You take one of them apart, okay? You can almost guarantee if it's got a shim behind it, just transfer the bearing with the shim. And
the cases are where the variation is in the cases, not the gear sets usually.
Exactly.
I could probably take 5 sets of Richmond gears and be within a thousandth or two on all of them. It's the cases that were
exactly. And that would fall into the heading of cases. That's what I found, right? It's just like if you take it apart and it had people like to make things more complicated than they actually are.
Yes.
If you take it apart and there's a shim in there, just put the shim in on the new one, put the bearing down on it, send it, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, Wheelie King says he's never seen more than about 5 thousandths. I wouldn't doubt that. Yeah. The problem is measuring them, because when they cut the caps usually aren't square in the center. So unless you have a jig that actually measures from the dead center line in that case, it's really hard to get an accurate measurement. So you're going to be off over 5 thousandths just trying to measure off the part line where the caps go on.
Michael Phillips, if you think houses are expensive now, just wait. No, Michael, it's the other way around. It's exactly the opposite.
Yeah, I don't think so.
You want me to go out? You want me to go out on a limb, right, and make a prediction? Okay. So housing has been in a bubble since Paul Volcker took over the Fed in 1982. All right. That's when Reagan said to Paul Volcker, "Here, you guys run the show, and I'm just going to make speeches, okay?" And the Fed was like, "You got it, baby." And so Paul Volcker started the real estate bubble in 1982, okay? And the bubble has grown consistently from 1982 until today, until right now, okay? So here's the thing about a bubble, and this is what they call bubbles, okay? Because when a bubble pops, there's nothing there. Okay, so when the real estate bubble pops, the real price, the actual price, right, the cash price of these houses, adjusted for inflation, is going to be what it was before the bubble started. So if your house had a $40,000 value in 1981 and adjusted for inflation, just talking round numbers, that $40,000 would be $80,000 today. Well, I don't care if your house is $600,000. I don't care if it's $1 million right now. It's going to go back to that when the bubble pops. They call them bubbles for a reason.
Joseph Giannini says because commercial real estate is hurting, we will see commercial real estate take it. I'm telling you, commercial real estate right now is just as high as everything else, and it's all in a bubble. And I just sold a piece of commercial real estate last week. It's all in the same crazy place.
Danny Boy, real estate was already inflating for decades before Volcker. Real estate had its ups and downs periods, right? So if you go from the 100-year period between 1800 and 1900, houses and land was actually cheaper in 1900 than it was in 1800. It all goes through cycles. But then what happened was you had the Fed in 1913, and then you had the removal of gold from circulation, common circulation in 1833. And once that happened, all of the normal cycles no longer applied. So and then the big thing was Nixon closing the gold window in August 1971. That's when things really started to run off the rails. We should have had an inflationary depression in 1980. That's what it was leading to, right? We actually had a blow off. You can watch the charts. Look at the chart of silver, right? 1980 was it. We were supposed to have an inflationary blow off, and then they played around a little bit, wage and price controls, blah blah blah, right? And then Paul Volcker took over and said, oh, "We got this," and here we are today.
Tim Turk, bring back the gold standard.
It's coming back whether you like it or not.
Don English, I own my piece of dirt. Good place to be.
Jokey, even after 2008, things became real science fiction after 2008. How many years can you keep? How many years can you run for zero? How many decades? You just have money. Here. Just how much you want, right? Take as much as you want. Don't work like that. Not for any amount of time.
Michael Phillips says with 10%.
I'm paying attention. Hey, did you know that Eugene Ford died?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Eugene Cord died. He's one of the Mutt brothers. Rest in peace, Eugene.
Michael Phillip asks a question. With 10% inflation, the average house will be worth $1 million in 5 years. Won't to me.
No, I'm telling you. It's all different now. Everything is different, and it's going to get weird. It's going to get weird like you can't even fucking spell. It's going to get weird.
Well, I can tell you, when we had the housing bubble several years back, we had a surplus of buyers who were totally unqualified to be buying houses and had no business, okay? I sold houses to people with 550 credit scores and no documentable income and everything else, okay? Banks were just handing away money because they could sell it to the secondary market before they even made the loan, right? That's what drove it last time. What I see this time is there's actually less on the market for sale. And so qualified buyers are now competing and hammering on each other for less stuff. So it's a different kind of sales.
Wait, okay. Those unqualified buyers from 2006, 2007 to 2008 have been replaced by the corporate buyers, the BlackRocks and all of that. It's just a different version of the same thing.
Are you talking about money?
Yeah, well, John's talking about money.
I'm just talking about real estate sales.
Oh shit! Rob Bruce's dad just no shit. Paul. Eugene died, and Rob Bruce's dad passed away. Oh, James, I haven't talked to either of them in forever. The last time I talked to them was at Englishtown, one of the funny car reunions. I was helping them with the car a little bit. Pass my condolences along. I'm very sorry about that. They were great people, man. The Bruces are great people. They ran a funny car called the Zombie. All right. What else we got here? Ammo is the new gold. No, gold is the new gold.
Yeah. Ammo is the new gold. I'll tell you something. Here's about ammo. The trained people are going to have plenty. So you don't need to hoard ammo.
The only thing I say, oh, we're running late.
Yeah, a little
The
bit.
the only thing I'm going to say, and like this is going to make sense to like 2 people in the audience. It's going to make sense to 2 people in the audience. Okay, right? But go get your popcorn and enjoy the show. All right? There's 2 people, and one of them's going to jump in any second now. Right? Go get your popcorn and enjoy the show.
Abel D wants you to write a book entitled 2084. I couldn't care less what's going on in 2084. I won't be here.
Really? No shit.
Not even close.
You know what? But our cars will be here.
Yes. I hope somebody is taking good care of my 70 Swinger in 2084, because there is no way I'm living to well over 100 to do that.
James Hot Rod has his popcorn. Excellent. Randall Black's been eating it for the last year. Mr. B says we're watching a movie. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Just enjoy the popcorn. Go get the popcorn and enjoy the show.
I have a friend who went to Ukraine to help train over there.
It's all part of the show.
Olive says, looks like one of my nephews is a car nut. Cool. Fabrication Ranch grows popcorn.
All right, yeah. So a bunch of you guys are in on it. Okay. All right. So listen, Clown World. Future is proving the past as we sit here right now. All right. So guys, we're over the usual time. I got to get out of here. I can't talk anymore. I need to eat something and get ready to make more videos tomorrow because I got to get my numbers up. My numbers are in the toilet. It's terrible. I'm below my usual, and YouTube's going to punish me now if I don't blow a bunch of high view content out.
It's been fun doing this bizarro double header with Uncle Tony. He's on my live, I'm on his, and we just crossed. That was neat. That was different.
Always a pleasure to do anything with you, my brother. So,
this is great. This has been a good evening.
So, guys, all of our mods, except for John, because he was a mod tonight. He's just hanging out. So, Harry, Fubar Zero, thank you guys so much. Everybody who contributed with Super Chat, thank you. It keeps the wheels turning. I cannot tell you how grateful I am. We all are here in the UTG universe for the contributions, and all of you contributed just with your good, your conversation and your presence. I thank you so much. Right, you are all part of the greatest automotive community in all of YouTube, and I don't say that lightly. I'm serious. You guys are awesome. This is an elite crowd, and John has taken this thing to another level now with this whole No Name Nationals thing and growing. He's bringing up. I'm telling you, this is great. We're just doing great. Just doing great.
Tony, if I can, I'll just plug that we're going to be doing another content creator workshop about a month from now, and hopefully people will tell us how their new tips and tricks that they learned from Blake and Tony and some of the more experienced creators have helped them. We'll see what happens. So we're going to be having another one in about a month, and you guys are all invited to come check that out in the chat, and we'll carry that until Tony goes live about a month from now. All
right. And in the meantime, I want to be in on that live that you're doing with David and Andy.
You bet. That will be that live. I'll be live on my channel April 1st, 8 Eastern, 7 Central with Andy Wood, Uni Motorsports Garage, and David Vizard live from his studio. And we're going to be debriefing day 1 of the dyno session of Mixed Up Boss. Should be a really interesting live.
Just do me a favor and throw me a text that morning to remind me, or that afternoon to remind me.
You got it.
All right, guys. So that's it. I'm hitting the out button. Thank you all, and I'll see you Wednesday night with Dallas.
See y'all.
Good night, all.